My name is Gadi Uzan. I'm a partner at Shibolet, one of Israeli leading law firm in Israel. I head the mobility practice, which is part of our high-tech practice. We want today to explore the relationship between mobility aftermarket and innovation. I'm honored to host Kate, Bruno, and Avi, three experts in the field we discuss. I would like to start the panel with a short intro. I will let Kate, Bruno, and Avi introduce themselves. Let's start with Kate. Kate, please.
Hi, I'm Kate Bellingett. I'm the SVP of Sales and Business Development at Nexar. A little bit about myself. I have automotive in my DNA. My grandfather worked at Ford, and my father worked at Alfa Romeo and DeLorean, if you can believe it, of Back to the Future fame. And I studied philosophy and English at UCLA. I didn't set out to be in the automotive industry, but when I joined Google in 2010, I ended up working with auto manufacturers and loving the industry. And after being at Google for about 9 years, I was introduced to the CEO of Nexar, and I've been on this adventure ever since.
Welcome to Israel, Kate. Now, Bruno, please.
Yes, hi, my name is Bruno Grippe. Sorry for not being in Israel with you in Tel Aviv, guys. I'm based in Dubai, and I'm working from Nissan. I'm a director in charge of the connected car and intelligent mobility coordination for the AMEO region. So the AMEO region stands for Africa, Middle East, India, and Oceania. And my background is mainly in automotive. I've been in more than 30 years in the automotive in different parts of the world.
Thank you, Bruno, for joining us today. Avi, please introduce yourself.
So I'm Avi. I'm a co-founding partner and the managing partner in Mobilion Ventures. Mobilion Venture actually is a very unique VC since we are focusing on a very specific part of the automotive industry, which is the aftermarket, and the session today is right on top of that. I have more than 20 years of experience in the Israeli innovation ecosystem, part of it on the governmental side, as chief legal advisor in the Israeli Innovation Authority more than a decade ago. And before Mobilion Venture, I ran another VC called Capital Nature with some very good startups in our portfolio there. So that's my background. Thank you.
Thank you, Avi. Great to have you today with us. Let's start with you, Avi. Avi, you are the founder of Mobilion, as you said. What is special in the aftermarket? What entrepreneurs shall or should know about this market?
I think that what's unique about the aftermarket is its flexibility. So the aftermarket, I would try to consider it as the early adopter of the automotive industry. You're able to test new technologies. You're able to start with small quantities, with small batches of product and services, and to extend that and bring more value as you go along the way. While when you're aiming at the OEMs, you have to bring everything already packed as the final product, and you're not as flexible as in the aftermarket. Moreover, the aftermarket is more profitable. So for each system you sell in the aftermarket, you gain more than selling to the OEMs. So I think for startups, it's a very good go-to in their early years. It doesn't mean that you should not look at the OEM side, but you should definitely consider going to the aftermarket first and establish yourself in the aftermarket. And also the aftermarket gives you a kind of kosher stamp recognition that your product is market ready. And that's very important for startups, for the name of that, the trademark of that technology to really kick in. The aftermarket gives you that, while when you're OEM, you're just white label of the OEM itself. So I think that those are unique characteristics of the aftermarket.
Great, I think very important insight. Kate, let's move to you. Nexar is an important player in this aftermarket we discussed. What are the reasons Nexar decided to enter this market, and what tips you can share with a startup which targets this market?
So a quick background on Nexar and what we do in the aftermarket. Yeah, so we sell one of the top-selling direct-to-consumer connected dash cams. So we have an intelligent connected dash cam system targeted primarily for general commuters and professional drivers. We have about 120,000 drivers on the road today using Nexar dash cams all around the world. And we're growing at over 80% year over year. So it's a really exciting time. We didn't actually set out to be an aftermarket device or even a dash cam company. When our two co-founders in 2015 got together, they were both executives at Yahoo working on image search. And they really had this idea of how do we do image search in the real world. They saw trends around ubiquitous connectivity, more powerful compute resources moving to the edge, and they thought, we could really digitize the physical domain, create an index of roadside objects and situations, almost a digital twin. But in order to do that, they needed a lot of imagery. So for the first few years, Nexar was actually just an app on the smartphone, collecting imagery with some dashcam capabilities, but we found a lot of challenges with that form factor, overheating, incorrect field of view. So in 2018, we came to market with this connected dashcam. And like anything that we do, we wanted to do it really well. So I think we built a really powerful and popular dashcam. And at this point, we're growing the product portfolio. We're adding more partners who can use Nexar's dashcam software stack to power their own dashcams. And in the end, I think, through the dashcam business, we set out what we started, with in 2015, which is to create this kind of visual asset of the road. So our dashcams now are collecting 30 billion images of the road in the US every single month. We have 3 trillion images in our neural library. And so on top of this really successful kind of B2C aftermarket dashcam business, we're starting to really unlock the value of these cameras with AI as a service, with SaaS solutions for insurance companies, and really tapping into this idea of kind of a shared memory of all of these vehicles that have eyes on the road. But all of that was built on top of having this really successful, powerful aftermarket device in the fastest growing aftermarket category, which is dash cams.
So we can say that you started as more targeted to the OEM, and then there was like a move towards the aftermarket?
We started with an idea of being an AI company and building a software stack to do more computer vision on the edge. And then we found that in order to actually deploy that technology, we had to build a very successful aftermarket device and kind of grow our own network. And our ambition is, of course, to go pre-market, to be in the vehicle itself. We recognize that, the 4 ingredients of Nexar, camera, connectivity, compute, and sensors, they're all either in vehicles today or increasingly going to become available in vehicles. So, I think that we're doing, this kind of almost field test of our technology using our aftermarket device right now to prove out our software stack and that we should be a pre-market partner to the OEMs. And I think in terms of what startups should consider going into the aftermarket space, it's very similar to what we said earlier, which is that aftermarket gives you an opportunity to prove yourself to the OEMs, right? There's a lot of startups who say, oh, OEM, if you just put me in your car and then I have all this scale, then, my toy will be amazing in your car. And I think for us, we get to actually show it, right? Instead of telling OEMs, yeah, we can add all this powerful AI, we can bring them data about our own driver network of 120,000 drivers and how we've managed to unlock, data services and SaaS solutions and subscription services that they're interested in. So, we bring that proof, that credibility, and OEMs are definitely responding to it.
Thank you for sharing, Kate. So, Bruno,
Yes.
as Nissan is a manufacturer, and we just discussed manufacturer and OEM, what is your involvement in the aftermarket?
My job is to interact with startup and new tech companies and to hear what kind of ideas they can bring to our markets, because my main responsibility is to identify new technology, new features, new services that could be interesting to bring to our customers in the region, the EMEA region. So I have to interact with these companies, and I was very interested by what both of you said before. So we analyze this solution, and when we find a good proposal, then the second step for me is to work with the internal Nissan after-sales departments, because it will be managed by the after-sales departments. So the after-sales department, they have to check the value for the customer. They have to make sure that this technology, this feature will bring incremental value to the customer, and also to check the technical feasibility, because there are different complexity. And when we bring a new solution, if the new solution is interacting with the electronic architecture of the vehicle, this is creating a big problem, a big risk. And the OEM, Nissan, doesn't want to take this kind of risk, because the architecture of the vehicle has been set up with very high level of security and reliability. So it's easier when it is a plug-in solution that is not interfering with our electronic architecture. And the other comment I wanted to say is I'm also working with the Renault Nissan Mitsubishi Alliance Innovation Lab in Tel Aviv. And here, our main role is to take benefit of the partnership that the Innovation Lab is making with Israeli startups. So we are following what they are doing, and hopefully in the future, we get some good example that we can implement in our region. And I will give you just 3 examples. One is with Cybellum, which is a company doing cybersecurity risk assessment. Juganu, who is developing a multi-purpose lighting solution, or Cardom, that is developing a software to improve the speech recognition performance. And you know that speech recognition performance is very important, because we are moving from a trend where we're using touch button on the screen to voice control. And the speech recognition will be one of the key elements of that. So, my job is really to understand what can be the services or new features that the startup can bring to us, and study the feasibility for our market.
Thank you, Bruno. I just want to say that I recommend that you get Avi's number, because he has a lot of data about Israeli startups. So this is something that you should follow up after this panel. Thank you. Now to a more Israeli question for all of you. Mobility is an Israeli success. They target the OEM market and the aftermarket. Is it part of their success? Kate, do you know Mobileye? Do you have insight about their success?
Yeah, absolutely. I don't think you can work in mobility in Israel and not know about Mobileye. Yeah, they went on quite a journey to get to where they were. It took many, many years and many different iterations, but obviously they've become really successful. I think the big difference between the approach that Nexar is taking and the approach that Mobileye took is that they very much built their device as an aftermarket and then worked with OEMs to put that exact device into the vehicle. Whereas we're working with our aftermarket device to showcase our software stack and to build out our capabilities. But as I said, the ingredients of Nexar, the camera, connectivity, compute, sensors, all of that will be in the vehicle itself. So our ambition is not necessarily to put, a Nexar device into a car so much as our software stack and demonstrate with our device today just how valuable, reliable, safe our software solution actually is. And then we can handle the complexities of working with different types of architecture with our device partners.
Avi.
Yeah, I think that Mobileye is a great example of what we just spoke about, because Mobileye demonstrate, taking the route to aftermarket first, as Kate said, bringing their product as a full product to the aftermarket, getting the recognition, enabling them to penetrate different geographical market, and start working with OEMs in order to test and to show the value, the real value of making those alerts in vehicle in real time. More even, it created a stream of revenues for them, allowing them more flexibility in terms of additional capital investments along the way. So I think it works very good for them, and I believe that part of their very high value upon their merger with Intel was due to their aftermarket approach. So I think it's a very good example exactly of what we are discussing today. Actually, in our portfolio, we have a very similar approach with one of our startups, Ride Vision. They are doing ADAS system for motorcycles. Again, we are targeting the aftermarket in order to penetrate the market, while in parallel working with the OEMs. So taking the Mobileye venue in order to reach the same results, hopefully.
Bruno, do you have anything to add about the success of Mobileye?
Well, it's difficult to add anything on top of what Kate and Avi said, right? No, I think one of the success is line production as well. Aftermarket, okay, but for example, when they are developing ADAS features, advanced driver assist system features, these features will come to the line fitment instead of aftermarket. It's what related to the point I was saying before. No, they have been working with the Alliance as well. So yes, so it's a great success. Fantastic, yeah.
Thank you. Avi, I have another question for you. Can you estimate, can you give us some insight if it's possible for the Israeli mobility practice and mobility sector to create another Mobileye?
I'm sure that the answer is yes. I believe that those technologies that are breakthroughs in terms, starting with a new technology, blue ocean kind of approach, giving or creating a new path would bring new Mobileye's. If I can, look at current technologies, available technologies in the market, and maybe pinpoint one or two from my former portfolio, I would take Electrion. They're doing electric vehicle mobility through the infrastructure itself, through the roads, electrifying the roads and transmitting wirelessly. I think that if this technology, it has the ability to win over in urban, mostly in urban environments, over other electrification systems. And I think they have a very unique approach and actually blue ocean, because they are competing with themselves.
And it's a great thing to say about Electrion. It's a traded company in Tel Aviv. So each one of us can buy shares if he wants.
To be part of the party.
Yeah, it's not a traditional startup, which is more closed for investors. everyone can decide if you want to join this company. Good. Thank you, Avi. Now, I think we need to go back to the era of the Bible. And the reason I'm saying it here in Tel Aviv is that each one of you are hereby appointed as a prophet. And we want to see 5 years from now, and we ask you, please describe the market in a glance. So we will start with you, Bruno. You are a prophet. 5 years from now, please.
Okay, so just if you allow me, I wanted to make a comment before about related to what Kate and Avi said before. Is for this, there is a gap between the lifetime of a vehicle versus the speed of new tech innovation. You know, and this is a big potential because a vehicle, the life of a vehicle is 8 years. If you take from the beginning of the development process until the end of the production. And during these 8 years, you will get a lot of innovation. And it's particularly nowadays with the acceleration innovation in connectivity, infotainment, mobility services, etc. So if we don't do anything, if we wait the end of the life of the car will be completely outdated. So it's very important for us to use aftermarket business as one of the solutions to bring new technology to our customer. So what will happen in the next 5 years? I'm not a prophet, Gavi, sorry, but I will do my best to answer your question. For me, it's part of my job, so I can say that. For me, the future market will be connected markets. We always talk about Internet of Things. This is what it means. And I see 4 main trends, 4 main evolution for the aftermarket. The first one is a shift to a digital world. So what does it mean? So it's clearly in terms of equipment, and Kate mentioned that before. So we have new hardware, technologies, sensor displays, etc. More and more software development, which will become more and more valuable in the vehicle, but also in terms of mobility services. So it's not only equipment. This digital world will help us to develop new services in mobility. Second trend is a shift in resources. For this, for digital world, we need more and more software developers, and this will impact a lot after markets already, actually. The third one is a revolution in the customer relationship, because we used to contact the customer from in a sporadic way. So you contact the customer when you sell the vehicle, and then the customer goes regularly to the dealer for the maintenance. You don't have so much contact with the customer. With connectivity, it will be completely different. It will be a 24/7 permanent communication with the customer, because the customer will be always connected. He will expect personalized contact, immediate reply if your network or your connectivity does not work, it's done. And you will have to reply to the customer, because customers get to work with giant tech companies and get more and more immediate contact, regular contact, and immediate contact with their providers. And the most important is the final one, is the change for us will be the access to an infinite amount of data to connectivity. And the challenge will be, how do we analyze this data and how we take benefit of it? And this will be a big challenge for us, and for me, it's probably the biggest trend for this evolution in 5 years.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Gabi.
Kate, please, let's describe what happened in 5 years from now.
I think based on what happened in 2020, it's hard to have confidence in predicting the future. But if I must, listen, the auto industry, it doesn't change that quickly. So in 2015, the top selling car was the Ford F-150. Ford sold 780,000 of them. In 2020, the top selling car, the Ford F-150. They sold 787,000 of them in the US. So if I have to guess the top selling car in 2025, even if there are vehicles with level 3, level 4, level 5 autonomy on the road, I still think it'll be the Ford F-150. But all of that said, I think OEMs are going to have to work really hard to get people to trade up vehicles. Vehicles, they're expensive, they're really well made these days. And I think the way that they're going to get users to drivers to trade up is with EVs, with kind of more short-term leasing bundles, and with connected car services. I think that those are the three like kind of differentiators that customers would go in and buy a new car for. And then finally, if I'm being slightly provocative, I do think that by 2025, GM and Ford combined will sell more EVs than Tesla. I
Wow.
think that Mary Vera and Jim Farley are doing an amazing job, and I'm rooting for Detroit.
So we will see.
Yeah.
Avi, you are the last.
I'll try. I'll also connect to what Bruno and Kate said. First of all, 5 years much too early for a prophecy to in the automotive industry. So I'll take it to 10 years. EV and connected cars would be the new normal. I believe that we will see much more fleets within the total mix of the car park. And we will see the rise of car as a service or mobility as a service, but mainly in cars. And that will lead to personalization within the car industry. So the cars of the future would be more and more generic. Okay, so I don't care if it's a Ford 150 or whatever. For me, it's a
White
box.
label.
It's a box. It's a box on wheels. It's computerized box on wheels. And the actual differentiation would be the personalization. So I'm entering this generic car, and it will match my profile, my preferences, from air conditioning and music and the way I drive and the point of interest that I drive to. Everything would be matched to my profile, and so I think that this is where the industry is going, and it's, as Bruno said, based on a lot of data, a lot of connectivity. Those are the cornerstones to reach that. So
I must say, it seems that the future will be very interesting. Thank you so much, Bruno, Avi, and Kate, for joining us today for this panel. Thank you again.
thank you very much.
Thank you
Thanks for having me.
inviting us.